This is Camnet News. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The top stories on our desk this evening: President HH to dismiss underperforming ministers without hesitation. The Democratic Party backs the abolishment of religious affairs and gender ministries. Pressure mounts on a Chinese firm as workers demand better conditions of service. In international news, Guinea opposition warns against sanctions on junta. And in sports news, Deaf Football Association of Zambia to miss out on the forthcoming international tournament. Let's take a breather. Join me shortly for the details.
The Camnet October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money. For MTN 096 296 5883. For Airtel 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 000 182 5325. Stanbic Bank, Kablonga branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via Wild Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28 September 2021. Any late payment made after 28 September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
Once again, thank you for joining us. Residents of Mutendere compound in Lusaka have called on their fellow residents who are in the habit of illegally tapping electricity, as it endangers the lives of many innocent citizens. This follows a case of electrocution Sunday evening, where a 7-year-old boy identified as Frederick Mwisa was electrocuted by a live wire which was illegally connected to a mobile money booth, a case which has been confirmed by the police. Meanwhile, the power utility company is disappointed that despite several sensitization being done, such cases still remain high, especially in densely populated areas.
An illegal electricity connection in Lusaka's Mutendere compound has claimed the life of a 7-year-old boy identified as Frederick Mwisa. The trend of illegally tapping electricity is on the rise in many compounds, as in trying to avoid paying connecting fees, people tend to carry out their own connections. In this case, a cable tapping electricity from a second-hand shoe shop to a mobile money booth has resulted in the death of a 7-year-old boy. Residents narrate that the children were playing hide and seek around 19 hours Sunday evening, and in the process, the child hid behind the mobile money booth, touching the live wire in the process. The shop, which was the source of the electricity, has been broken into and looted by angry residents.
Then we work at the order, and not just a right to shop to connect na kahea te ona shop. So ndamboya yenze pants hiyo. So mwana ndo bisa makuya na fela na kwamene kula kumboya kahea teo.
Family of the deceased who are speaking at the funeral house have aired their grievances.
Kena ugenzi pa veranda so. Kena ugenzi kumene kuja ka booth pakati president tambo. So kamene kaja ka fridge nje kana ndo katapa kwanja kwa left pa ntambo pachi. So na chabe cha dumu kachpa. Nimene kana kwela ku pay phone kumbuyo kushaka mzake yakatizi mula chabe kataba. Nimene muna wezo pita so njipana mnyamula papewa baenda na kliniki. Kucha doctor pima akambachi mwana mwezi kudara.
Meanwhile, ZESCO Public Relations Manager Ms. Hezi Zulu says police should act on all those illegally connecting electricity.
We just want to call on the police to do a thorough investigation, and also on our part, we will do our part to just inspect and verify that indeed the death was caused by electrocution.
It is the hope of residents that all those practicing this vice will be brought to book, stating that they're worried about the welfare of their children. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
An old woman whose age is unknown is living alone in a shack in Lusaka West for over 3 years now, as she alleges that none of her relations are willing to take her in, stating that they often accuse her of being a witch. Speaking to Camnet TV, the woman, who identified herself as Tisatenji Banda, narrates that she depends on well wishers for survival, as her children hardly take care of her. In a telephone interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Ernest Piri, who is her nephew and former caretaker, has alleged that most of her family members have abandoned her, as she is argumentative, denying claims that her family thinks she is a witch. Zipporah Mushala once again brings us this report.
This is not a makeshift bathroom, but the home of an old woman who has been living alone in this shack for the past 3 years, rain or shine. Tisatenji Banda does not know her age, but only remembers that she was born during the time of Hari Mwanga Nkumbula. Miss Banda explains that she came to the farm approximately 3 years ago from Chipata to accompany her elder sister, a wife of the former caretaker of the farm, whom she found was no longer living there. She narrates that she has children in Kabanana compound, whom she feels have abandoned her, leaving her to depend on well-wishers, as she has been labeled a witch by her family.
Nenzozi balini kuti neo ninkale kukuno kuti ninkhalirire milioni wereremo kusaza kuti neo nintete ani nyankaliratu kuno nakwa ndomo zilirika.
However, Mr. Ernest Piri, who is her nephew and former caretaker, says that he, along with other family members, give her food once in a while, as they too can hardly afford. He alleges that the reason she seems to have been abandoned is because she is argumentative and exhibits strange behavior, such as talking to herself. He has denied claims that the family has been accusing her of practicing witchcraft.
In terms of sometimes
Miss Banda says she is appealing to be relocated to an old people's home, as she has lost human dignity due to the alleged treatment she has received from her family. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Thank you, Zipporah, for that story. Now, hundreds of workers at a Chinese-run construction company in Lusaka's Jalala area held a peaceful protest over poor working conditions Monday morning. During a protest, workers have cried foul of management's negligence towards payment and other logistical allowances. And management representative, project manager Cham Machishemba, has assured the workers all their grievances will be addressed in due course. Details on this.
Monday, September 13, 2021, hundreds of workers gathered to protest over poor conditions by Chinese-run construction company in Chalala area, Lusaka. A billion-worth project has employed over hundreds of workers who in turn get paid as low as 40 kwacha per day. Both specialized workers and general workers have today cried foul over labor laws infringement. Slavery is what they describe the nature of work at Wangkong, a company contracted to construct a specialized hospital in the said area.
Since mwetnambira manchito muno vena mtakwanisa mwanu ye vena ngmatuyezi vena ngma 8 months but petwenza amba manchito ma office nzo tuza after 3 months mfunga bakusaina
consultant boy natina
sendra ma 45 manje ma 45 kwani sawani ye bakufakira ko chenga tubafuna kufakira bakufakira ko wanu kwachi amosenza 46 or 47 zakupeleka alo manje bintu bonse mwe muri renti mwe muri chan transport allowance bonse wapendra mwe mo lanchi tumazigurira pokuja kwa lanchi yako bakasa ka unga mpima unga kwa na wewe masacha masoya tumazigurira development page yose mwe kwasenzera jayo vote tunande vote kuchindona president sana tuchonge vilivyo katikati na day ameanasta announce bonza kulipe vinastika manje vinastika chani tunaenda sanga ba president watu but kuna company watu tunadra.
Things got intense as the Zambia police intervened to calm the situation.
To ask from you now, let us go home, order mshemushe mwameni tachokela kwa nyumba kakwele verani boss verani boss that is why we are a bit so that yes that is why we are in fact lero wena ngwaza kupasa
Meanwhile, to represent management, project manager Chamat Shimba has assured the workers all their grievances will be addressed in due course.
And as you can see, the police have come here and we don't want to cause unnecessary commotion. So for today, we are going to take a day off. Then once the meeting yasira, because this meeting is going to take almost the whole day. So if I was to confusion, so for today, take the day off. If it means they have to pay for today, we'll make those arrangements. But please, go home. This boss is necessary. Okay? Your meeting, it means that mpaka 17 hours.
A call to Ministry of Labour and Social Security is becoming louder as such worker mismanagement becomes a norm for a number of private companies across the country. Workers have since called on the powers that be to swiftly intervene. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Patriotic Front member of the Central Committee, Brian Mundubile, says young people will emerge as leaders as the former ruling party undergoes the rebranding process. Mr. Mundubile, who is also a Paracoso Member of Parliament, says the party will soon hold a general conference to put up a team that will carry on the party's agenda. Mr. Mundubile tells Camnet News that the PF is going through is normal considering the defeat witnessed in the August 12th general elections.
Can be presidents. You see, when you talk about presidents of the PF, a president is chosen at the party convention. There's no other way of ascending to presidency. So the people that are taking up positions now, they're in a caretaker position, so that they're able to lead us into the convention. It's at the convention that leaders will be picked. Yeah. So it's a rebranding process. It's a normal process in my view. You know, when you go through a defeat like we did with that dismal performance, you want to really investigate what transpired. You want to set up a team that will go and do a post-mortem. And at the same time, you want to bring in new leadership. So you are going to see a number of changes. You are going to see younger leaders ascending to big positions within the party as part of our rebranding process.
The opposition Democratic Party President Harry Kalaba has charged that the United Party for National Development government is on the right track despite the slight sway from the promise of free education. Addressing the media on Monday, Mr. Kalaba, who came third in the just-ended election, says his party will continue to offer proper checks and balances to the ruling party as it lays out its plan for the country. And commenting on the ministries that have been abolished, Mr. Kalaba says abolishing the Ministry of Religious Affairs is a plus, adding that it divided the church due to it being politicized. The United Party for National Development government, under its creation of the new cabinet, some ministries were merged while others were completely done away with and put as departments in certain ministries. According to the information on the ground, some ministries did not really serve their purpose but became a conduit to divide the nation by mere fact that they were highly politicized. Among the ministries that have failed to see the day of light in the UPND government include the Guidance and Religious Affairs Ministry, Gender and Traditional Affairs Ministry. Zambia is a Christian nation. A larger population of the church considered this ministry important in uniting the nation. Whether the idea of having this ministry was good or not is still subject of debate. Opposition Democratic Party President Harry Kalaba says a move to remove the religious ministry is welcome.
Of the Ministry of Religious Affairs is in order because Zambia is a democracy, it is not a theocracy. Yes. And in a democracy, my dear, we expect the institutions of the church and government to be separate. The Ministry of Religious Affairs in its entirety was not a bad ministry, but it was people who were presiding over it that made that ministry become toxic. They began using it for politics. They began offending sacrology, and in the process, Christians all over Zambia began feeling that they were being left out of that ministry. The Ministry of Religious Affairs even began giving out loans to churches. You remember that? Yes. All that was in the process of hoodwinking the people of Zambia. We have the three church mother bodies that have been dealing with our church affairs. The Episcopal Conference of Zambia, the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, and the Council of Churches.
But a local clergy spoken to is against this move, adding that the ministry should be maintained.
Because what we know is it was abused. Is it possible that we can revert? The intentions of creating the ministry were good, and it's a good ministry for that it was supposed to be guiding and bringing good morals into it. So if the right things could be done, let it come back and let it be run by a sober person who won't be biased towards the government of the day. It should be for the people of Zambia.
Meanwhile, Mr. Kalaba says his party is keenly following the way UPND is running the affairs of the nation, giving them a plus, at least for now.
Also cautiously following the president and his government on some of the campaign promises they made. And we'll call them out when we see a departure from those promises. For this reason, we would like to mention that, I would like to mention with concern that we have seen a toning down on the promise that the UPND made of providing free education from primary to university. In his address to the National Assembly, the President alluded to deserving participants, beneficiaries in the bursaries, which sounded like a departure from what was promised during the campaign period. We are yet to see how the President will balance that and come to the fore and guide the nation. As we have said, as Democratic Party, we'll be patient. They say a voucher is a patient bird. We'll be patient, and so don't worry when you don't see us every day yapping and talking a talk. We will allow the UPND government to settle. Let them settle. And once they settle, we are going to see whether what they told us is at variance with what they are doing.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka. The National Democratic Congress Party faction president, Savoy Mboila, has urged the UPND government to clarify on how they hope to carry out their campaign promises, stating that citizens are currently in the dark as the government has only been giving vague statements on the same. In an interview with Camnet News, Ms. Mboila says the government should give a clear plan on how they intend to effect their manifesto, especially on their free education policy. She adds that citizens do not expect to be hearing promises from the UPND as they are no longer in opposition, but instead expect to hear how they plan to actualize their manifesto as a governing party.
They can't keep on telling us the problems that we've been seeing. This is a time for them to implement, and the speech in Parliament is a prelude to the national budget. So what exactly are they going to spend on? If you go into the rural places, for example, right now, you're going to find a lot of children walking to schools. We want to know how many schools are going to be built, for example, in a year. So they need to improve the teacher-pupil ratio, for example, and they should give us the numbers. They need to build schools. All those things they need to be done. Look at the women that have to walk long distances to the health centers. So all those things, they should have made it very clear. And by the way, there were so many things that the UPND promised us when they were in opposition. Even the issue of free education. So now that they're in government, that's what we expected to see in the speech, whereby specific things that they've promised us, and now they say we're going to do this in such a period of time, and these are going to be the results. So that those measurables we're able to measure to say in the period of this time and that time, this is what you expect to do. So these are the things that we've been talking about, and we are hoping that as soon as possible, they're going to give us a clear vision, a clear direction.
Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has warned that he will not hesitate to replace any ministers who will not live up to their duties and expectations of the Zambian people. Speaking at an induction ceremony of cabinet ministers in Lusaka Monday, President Hichilema has reminded ministers that the offices they occupy are for the Zambian people and not for personal gains. The head of state also added that no project or procurement process should cost more than what is necessary.
To receive this morning, Mr. President, and afternoon, we will enable to ensure that we do not transgress as we relate with the officers and members of the public. Your guidance shall be cherished by all of us, for we believe we have a common vision. Mr. President, we would like to thank you most sincerely for finding time to come and give us advice pertaining to how we expect ourselves as cabinet and provincial ministers to manage national affairs on behalf of our masters who are the Zambian people. I would like to thank you once again, Mr. President, for this rare opportunity and honor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mwimbu. We will be coming to the close of the opening ceremony. Once we've finished with the closing ceremony, I will request the President to take leave. And once the President has taken leave, we'll request the press and others who are not part of the induction meeting to take leave as we start a closed door.
Apologize for playing the wrong clip there. We shall get back to that story. However, the National Democratic Congress Party, led by Joseph Akafumba, is impressed with the induction workshop attended by President Hakainde Hichilema at Mulungushi Conference Center Monday, September 13th. The NDC presidential spokesperson, George Sichola, says the orientation of ministers will ensure quality leadership in accordance with the people's expectations. Mr. Sichola says the induction shows that the President's effort to promote competence among the ministers. Meanwhile, NDC Media Director Emmanuel Malite has assured the youths that the job creation promise will be realized in due course as the President settles down.
We are very happy about today's workshop where President Hakainde Hichilema attended. It's quite exciting to see ministers being oriented, because we have had situations in Zambia where people at positions of district commissioners, PSCs and the ministers without orientation, and they just started working, on their own without any orientation. So we are so happy that His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema has taken it upon himself to make sure that ministers are oriented?
For the president to deliver, and I want to assure the youths that the leadership that is in place and the UPND alliance, and together with all the political UPND alliance, we are now, they should be rest assured that jobs will be provided. There are plans on the way that everything, what the youths that gathered to go and vote for him is something that he's working on, and we can see that the man that is in the office now is there not to show off, not to benefit himself, but to work for this country.
The Labour movement has advised a government against overburdening the formal sector with taxes in the 2022 national budget. The Zambia Congress of Trade Unions says government must focus on formalizing the informal sector in view of broadening the national tax base. He regrets that even social protection schemes such as the health insurance are targeted to the formal sector, a situation he says reduces their purchasing power.
One of Zambia's main economic challenges is an ever-growing informal sector. Broadly defined, the informal sector comprises enterprises that do not comply with the full extent of the government laws and regulations. This sector is typically characterized by its ease of entry. Anybody can start a business whenever they feel like. Low levels of skills, labor-intensive technology, and small firm size. The informal sector in Zambia employs 90% of the labor force, but tax collection is mostly centered around the formal sector, which is not the majority. The Zambia Congress of Trade Unions General Secretary Cosmas Mukuka calls on Finance Minister Dr. Stombeko Musokotwane to broaden the tax base and ensure that the formal sector is not overburdened.
More than 7 million people who are supposed to be, who are within the working age. So these 7 million, only about 800,000 of these 7 million are in formal jobs. So meaning that we have more than 80% of the people who are supposed to be employed, and they are in the informal sector. So the target, when they are trying to look at tax payers who earn and the rest, the focus is on the 700 plus workers who are in formal employment. You leave out the millions whom we have not formalized the jobs. So the focus again should be on formalization of the informal sector, so that we can have a lot of players.
He notes that focus on a few people limits government's ability to realize enhanced job creation.
When it comes to social security, social protection, the health schemes, you are targeting the workers. You leave out the people in the streets, whom you are supposed to organize in form of associations, cooperatives, so that they are also paying indirect. When the focus is on few people, job creation is affected. You cannot think beyond the box, outside the box, but we want the budget which should speak to participation of the Zambians, so that Zambians can contribute, just like we contribute on toll gates, we contribute on airtime. All those are the indirect ways where we can collect levies, not just to look at the deductions on people's pay slips. I think we should come up with a mechanical way of bringing everyone on board to participate in the social security and social protection contributions, which will be helpful for them.
Finance Minister Dr. Stombeko Musokotwane is this month expected to deliver the 2022 national budget. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
You're watching Camnet News. We take a first set of commercials. Stay with us.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties on +260 762 166018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
At Savenda Express Printing, we have the capacity to deliver quality in all kinds of printing services timely. Our lines of production include screen printing, embroidery, lithography, and large format printing. We take pride in delivering quality work at very competitive rates with our in-house, highly experienced and qualified designers. With the ability to print full color and embossing prints, our state-of-the-art screen printing machines are able to print 1,000 pieces per hour. Our embroidery machines are able to print any logo with 1 or up to 12 colors all at once and has an output capacity of 100 pieces per hour. Savenda Express Printing also does large format printing for billboards, banners, vinyl, car stickers, posters, tire covers, cups, pens, bags, flasks, packaging boxes, and well, just anything that can need printing. For inquiries, give us a call on 0960 344 471.
Camnet TV turns 5. We are excited to be the best community Christian TV channel within Zambia and across the world. With our programming for all age groups, talk of sermons, movies, kids programs, music, talk shows, developmental programs, and our unbiased, factual and balanced news. To you, our viewers, we are saying thank you for being part of this journey. Happy 5th anniversary. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. The Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, ZECHARIAH, says every Zambian of goodwill must laud President Hakainde Hichilema's consistency in calling for unity and peaceful coexistence. Center Executive Director Father Alex Muyeve says the unity that Zambians are aspiring for under the new administration is socio-economic equity, where the national cake of this richly endowed country is shared by all Zambians. The priest says there can be no unity and peaceful coexistence as long as citizens continue to have high levels of inequalities in a country where the majority of the people are living in extreme poverty. He says it is exciting to hear President Hichilema promising that his administration is going to reduce various forms of inequality and create a more equitable society.
The Lord from HH's speech that calls for a deeper reflection. I'll just mention just a few highlights. The first is that the president's speech must be lauded for the consistency the president has shown in calling for unity and for peaceful coexistence. And in calling for unity and also peaceful coexistence, the focus must not be only on a diversity in ethnicity or political affiliation or religion or race, etc., but also the focus must be on certain things that divide us, in this case the socio-economic disparity, where not everybody is able to share the national cake. And in so doing, now the society is divided. There is the society of the haves and the society of the have-nots. And that must be addressed, issues to do with extreme poverty, issues to do with inequality that must be addressed. And we are heartened to see that the head of state in his speech has promised to address issues to do with reduction of various forms of inequality and also an undertaking to create a more equitable society. But also something of note for us as ZECHARIAH is that the speech itself pledges to invest in people.
The United Teachers Union of Zambia has urged government to always place high premium on education. Union Executive President Paul Chipimo says education plays a pivotal role in shaping the fortunes of the national development, hence the need to ensure that the sector is fully funded without any compromise. In order to actualize this enormous stream, UNITERS proposes a sharp budgetary increase to this important sector in line with the SADC protocol of about 20% of the total national budget or better. The union has also proposed that teachers' motivation be given top priority in the 2022 national budget.
UNITERS proposes a sharp budgetary increase to this important sector in line with SADC protocol of about 20% of the total national budget or better. As an organization, workers' motivation always remains a top priority on our agenda. For we believe that a motivated employee does work effectively and efficiently. In this regard, we propose that teachers' motivation be given top priority in the 2022 national budget. For years now, our members across the country have continued complaining about poor conditions of service. For this reason, UNITERS wishes to submit that special attention in the 2022 national budget be given to the following key areas of teacher motivation. Teacher salaries. Recently, ZECHARIAH did a survey on the cost of living in Zambia. The findings of their study revealed that food basket in Zambia now stands over 8,000 kwacha, making it difficult for middle-class workers to lead a decent life. In view of the above, UNITERS proposes a significant salary increment for teachers in 2022 national budget that will uplift the standard of living and help our members cope with the current high cost of living.
We go back to our earlier story where Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has warned that he will not rather hesitate to replace any ministers who will not live up to the expectations of the Zambian people. Speaking at an induction ceremony of cabinet ministers in Lusaka Monday, President Hichilema has reminded ministers that the offices they occupy are for the Zambian people and not for personal gain. The head of state also added that no project or procurement process should cost more than what is necessary. Prudence Chota filed this report.
13th September 2021 was the day for the induction of the newly appointed cabinet ministers, to which they have been addressed by Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema on the do's and don'ts of their duties. The president, during his address, reminded the ministers that the offices they occupy are for the Zambian people and has warned that he will not hesitate to replace all ministers who will not live up to their duties.
Please remember, as you walk in that office every day, you are occupying an office that belongs to the people of Zambia, not to yourself. I've been observing over years how many ministers in previous governments, even their style of walking, you can see that this one thinks that is his office. That office belongs to the people. I will not hesitate to make necessary administrative changes for us to remain on course and achieve our objectives.
And President Hichilema placed emphasis on how procurement procedures should be done to ensure that resources are saved to the best interest of the Zambian people.
Equally, the technocrats must take responsibility for decisions they are making. Let me return to the ball. If you're the technocrat, you're the procurement officer, you're the finance officer, why are you paying 60,000 kwacha for a borehole of 20,000 kwacha? This sounds a difficult thing to do. No, that's what we do in our homes, with our children, with our wives. That's what we do. How can a child go to buy bread at a grocery shop for 15 kwacha and they come back and tell you that, Daddy, Mommy, you gave me 20 kwacha, I spent it on bread. But bread is 15 kwacha. She must bring change for 5 kwacha. Charity begins at home. That's how we live. normal lives.
The head of state is confident that when resources are channeled towards the right cause, opportunities will unfold themselves for the Zambian people who have waited for change to be effected.
To strictly adhere to the laid down procedures, processes and practices that the presenters, I believe so, will share with us, with you today. And I encourage you to be attentive, please. Again, I watch, in the past I was watching, ministers are having a session and people are sleeping in the session. I don't think anyone has to say more about it. Why would you be sleeping in a meeting?
And Secretary to the Cabinet, Dr. Simon Miti, highlighted the 3 critical elements that should be taken in account in all procurements of goods and services.
All works and all other matters that have to do with goods and services have to be procured, take into account the 3 critical elements. Number 1, these must be at the right price, right cost, and benchmark prices. Number 2, the quality of goods, works, and services. And number 3, timely delivery.
Ministers have since been advised to be better acquitted to execute their duties in order to respond to the needs of the Zambian people. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Close to 200 small-scale miners, commonly known as Jerabos, stormed Kasenseli gold mine in the early hours of Monday to illegally gain access to the gold mine, but were repelled by police who swiftly mobilized themselves. Northwestern Province Deputy Police Commissioner Dr. Fred Molenga, in a statement to Camnet TV, explains that in the process part of the fence was damaged, while one of the ringleaders sustained an injury on the left leg from a rubber bullet. He says 2 more were picked while the rest scampered in all directions for their lives. Dr. Molenga further explains that the injured was picked and taken to the hospital by police and will jointly be charged with criminal trespass and malicious damage to public property. He has warned would-be offenders to desist from doing so, adding that the police will firmly protect the gold mine resource from being exploited by greedy individuals. In other news, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has prescribed 21st October 2021 as the date on which it will hold the Kaumbwe constituency parliamentary elections in Petauke district of Eastern Province. The Commission says the elections failed to take place on the 12th of August 2021 following the death of the United Party for National Development candidate Boniface Kondowe on Tuesday, 20th July 2021. The election body also says it will on the same date conduct council chairperson elections for Chisamba and Lusangazi district of Central Province, Eastern Province respectively. Further, the Commission will conduct 4 local government ward elections in Kamifungo ward of Masaiti Town Council in Copperbelt Province, Lufubo ward of Mwansabomwe district in Lopola Province, Kalilele ward of Moshindamo Town Council in Northwestern Province, and Mulafu ward of Zimba Town Council in Southern Province. And ECZ says male aspiring candidates for the parliamentary elections will be required to pay non-refundable nomination fees of 15,000 kwacha, while female and youth aspiring candidates are expected to pay 13,500 kwacha. The Commission has since noted that the campaign period for the elections will commence on Thursday, 30th September 2021 after 15 hours and will end at 18 hours on Wednesday, 20th October 2021. In other news, the University of Zambia lecturer and animal scientist Dr. Pharaoh Sianangama has backed President Hakainde Hichilema's call for increased productivity in livestock by the use of science techniques. Mr. Sianangama has explained that science techniques such as artificial insemination assures a great return for the country in the exportation of livestock. He said this during an exclusive interview with Camnet TV.
In effort to enhance the agriculture sector, President Hakainde Hichilema, in his first parliamentary speech, highlighted the need for promotion and increase of livestock production and productivity through techniques such as artificial insemination, among others. In response to that, Dr. Farao Sianangama, an animal scientist, explains the need for such techniques to be encouraged to increase productivity.
Technologies. We are happy simply producing, but the president is challenging us to get into the realm of productivity, increasing productivity. You cannot increase productivity by merely sitting back and allowing the animal to do what it does by nature. We have to apply science. Some of the products are on the market already, as I said. Apart from that, we will need to have people look at the raising of animals as a serious business. Not because someone has money and they want to buy 2 cows, but are never there to see how those animals are performing. We need to invest in that sector so that we apply the right technologies on these animals. That way we shall realize the improved productivity that the president spoke about.
According to Dr. Sianangama, the country is well equipped to maximize on the science available to lessen the dependence on copper as the main export.
How we are going to address issues of productivity in the livestock sector. We have many players, but what this calls for is that we should all come together. There are many roles that many players can play. Once these all come on board, we are ready as a country. We have been, but only I think the priority has not been placed in the right area. If we now get focused and address the real issues, this country is ready to improve. We've relied on statistics that never change. Look at the numbers of livestock, always the same, never going up. Why? What is so wrong with us? We can address those issues. We are ready as a country.
Alex Shimba, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Medical for Quality Healthcare in Zambia is concerned at how people are disregarding the COVID-19 health guidelines, stating that Zambia might hit the 4th wave towards the end of 2021 if people do not change their attitudes. In an interview with Camnet TV, Organization Director General Dr. Quince Mwabo says the COVID-19 virus is controllable when the general public chooses to get vaccinated and observe the health guidelines put in place.
On the 18th of April 2021, Zambia received the first consignment of 228,000 doses of the vaccine from the COVAX facility and other stakeholders who are working on the equitable distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines. The voluntary COVID-19 vaccination exercise in the country is targeting a total of 8.4 million people who are above the age of 18. We have seen in the recent months people queuing up to get vaccinated. This, however, has not been the case in the past days, as people have become reluctant when it comes to getting vaccinated. Medical for Quality Healthcare, in an interview with Camnet News, is concerned at how people are not complying with the COVID-19 guidelines.
We have seen a lot of people, they are disregarding COVID-19 guidelines, which is very, very worrying. Because we are going to lose a lot of life if we take that path. For the past 3 months, we have seen how we lost our family members, our colleague, and our friends due to COVID-19. But we should not go back to that again, because this is the right time. We need to make sure that we prepare ourselves as a country, because we might hit with the 4th wave of COVID-19 if we are not careful at the end of this year. We have seen the weather is changing. It is getting warm now, and this is a favorable weather.
He says the pandemic is controllable when people follow the 5 golden rules.
Surge. But again, we are going towards the rain season where the COVID-19 variant can spike. So we just have to be very careful as a country and start following the COVID-19 golden rules. The golden rules are: we need to mask up always, we need to observe social distancing, we need to be washing our hands regularly, and we need to make sure that we stay home if possible. COVID-19 is still with us in our community, in our homes, and in our country. So we just have to take this issue very serious as a country, because every life is very important. We don't want to lose more life due to COVID-19 again.
People are encouraged to accept the vaccination because it will safeguard them from getting the infection. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
You're still watching Camnet News. Let's take another break. When we return, we have international and sports news. Stay with us.
Would you like to win some cool cash? Say no more. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million kwacha. Simply make a transaction from your Zamtel mobile money account and you could be one of weekly winners of up to 10,000 kwacha. Be empowered with Zamtel mobile money. Dial *344# to activate your account. This promotion runs from 28th July to 31st October 2021. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
At Savenda Express Printing, we have the capacity to deliver quality in all kinds of printing services timely. Our lines of production include screen printing, embroidery, lithography, and large format printing. We take pride in delivering quality work at very competitive rates with our in-house, highly experienced and qualified designers. With the ability to print full color and embossing prints, our state-of-the-art screen printing machines are able to print 1,000 pieces per hour. Our embroidery machines are able to print any logo with 1 or up to 12 colors all at once and has an output capacity of 100 pieces per hour. Savenda Express Printing also does large format printing for billboards, banners, vinyl, car stickers, posters, tire covers, cups, pens, bags, flasks, packaging boxes, and well, just anything that can need printing. For inquiries, give us a call on 0960 344 471.
Camnet TV turns 5. We are excited to be the best community Christian TV channel within Zambia and across the world. With our programming for all age groups, talk of sermons, movies, kids programs, music, talk shows, developmental programs, and our unbiased, factual, and balanced news. To you, our viewers, we are saying thank you for being part of this journey. Happy 5th anniversary. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
The Camnet October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Pondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
You can also participate via Zoom at 300 kwacha per day.
Make your payments through mobile money. For MTN 096 296 5883. For Airtel 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 000 182 5325. Stanbic Bank, Kablonga Branch.
For those living abroad, make payments via Wild Remit. The deadline for payments will be 28th September 2021. Any late payment made after 28th September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
Welcome back. You're still watching Camnet News. A leading figure in Guinea's opposition on Saturday urged the regional bloc ECOWAS not to impose economic sanctions on Guinea's new military regime, describing the recent coup as a welcome development. Former Prime Minister Celo Diallo told AFP that the junta does not deserve to be sanctioned because it put an end to a situation of lawlessness. In other news, heavy rains and flash floods in the Sudan have destroyed dozens of villages and left tens of thousands of people without a home, where more than 70 people have died. Here's a roundup of international stories.
Guinea's opposition leader has urged regional bloc ECOWAS against imposing economic sanctions on the country's junta, describing the recent coup as a welcome development. Selou Diallo has said he would accept a role in Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya's regime. Since the Chadian and Malian exceptions, the African Union and the ECOWAS, I don't want to say have lost their credibility and have multiplied the exceptions. It is very difficult to impose a civilian president on Colonel Doumbouya. But it would be desirable for the Prime Minister to be a civilian, so that the transition is also conducted with civilians. ECOWAS has suspended Guinea but has stopped short of announcing any sanctions. The army takeover has received firm support from the political opposition. I wouldn't be in favor of economic sanctions, as I told you. First of all, I find that it was the involvement of the army to put an end to an illegal and illegitimate mandate. It was for me a decision that was welcome. So for me, the junta does not deserve to be sanctioned for that, because for me, it put an end to a lawless situation. The coup leaders say they intend to form a unity government, but have been quiet on when and how.
This is what Nuela village in Sudan state of White Nile now looks like from above. It once had more than 80 homes, housing dozens of families. But heavy rains in the east of the country resulted in flash floods that left the houses in ruins.
These houses belong to me and my children. The waters came at night about a week ago and started flooding the village. They'd just moved in, but now everything is gone. I've managed to save this cupboard, but it's destroyed. I don't know what will happen next.
The only way to reach Nuela now is by boat, and many of the villagers are using them to pick up whatever they can salvage. Heavy rains in Sudan and neighboring Ethiopia means more water is flowing into the Nile River a few hundred kilometers away. People here say it's the worst flash floods they've seen in years. More water came from the valleys and streams than previously. The rain started in late July, and dozens of people have died, and more than 100,000 have been affected across 13 of Sudan's 18 states. Ammar Hamad shows us how the floods destroyed his village of Al-Ghana, about 15 kilometers from Nuela. He had to carry his sick mother on his back to safety.
We've lost everything. We've lost our homes, our farmlands. Most of us only came out with what we're wearing. We don't have anything, and the government is yet to provide us with any aid.
And those villages are not the only ones to suffer. More than 50 villages have been destroyed by heavy rains and flash floods in White Nile State alone in the past week. Thousands of people have been displaced as a result, and many now live in the open. Many lack basic necessities such as food and clean water. And with more heavy rains expected in the coming days, there are concerns about the spread of waterborne diseases. Those displaced in the state have called on the local authorities to provide assistance, but they say they have limited capabilities and need help from aid agencies.
We have distributed tents, but they are not enough for the people affected, so we need aid organizations to assist us in the response because the needs are huge. There is need for mosquito nets, medicines, and additional tents. We are trying to help as much as we can, but the people affected are too many.
There are still weeks to go before the end of the rainy season, and the thousands of people displaced by the floods don't know how long they'll have to wait before they can return to their villages and rebuild their lives.
In Indonesia's east, off the coast of Camnet Island, this is one of Indonesia's floating vaccine hubs. It's intended to reach fishermen and others who work at sea.
The only way to access this area is by sea. We have faced some difficulties getting here, such as the tide and strong current.
Many of the fishermen here live far from health services and are often away from home.
We are thankful that the police came to sea to give us vaccines because we didn't have the chance before.
Most of these areas do not have reliable electricity.
We use a cool box to maintain the temperature of the vaccine. If we have issues, we also use ice to maintain the cold chain.
The government aims to vaccinate at least 208 million people by the end of the year. That's more than 70% of the population. With its population spread across more than 6,000 islands, that comes with some logistical challenges. These health workers braved heavy storms to reach this village on the island of Borneo.
The only option is to come here via the river, and today it was raining and the waves were strong. But after we saw the enthusiasm of the people, it all paid off.
In the weeks leading up to the vaccine drive, local leaders have been sharing information about the vaccines to help combat hesitancy.
What we know is we can't be afraid of the vaccine. We have to get vaccinated to avoid spreading COVID. And the vaccine is halal.
President Joko Widodo has stressed the need to speed up vaccinations in provinces outside Java to avoid another surge in cases.
After weeks as the global epicenter of the virus, transmission has started to slow and life is gradually returning to normal for many Indonesian cities. Authorities hope the accelerated vaccination drive will allow that process to continue. This month they aim to vaccinate more than 2 million people every day. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.
We go straight into sports news. The Deaf Football Association of Zambia is saddened that it will miss out on the first ever African Deaf Football Championships to be held in Nairobi, Kenya. In an interview with Camnet Sports, National Association head coach Patrick Kasoka says lack of resources has contributed to this, adding that they only managed to raise 100,000 kwacha out of the total 324,000 kwacha needed.
On the 3rd of September 2021, Camnet Sports witnessed the first selection of the 15 players coming from Zambia Deaf Football Association who were going to represent Zambia in the first ever African Deaf Football Championship, which will be held in Nairobi, Kenya on the 25th of September 2021.
I feel we need more so that we can be planning even more clearly. We need to thank God for us for this opportunity, and we need people to support us. Even our president, the new president, we are begging, we are asking for your support. I'm happy for the team, and I'm happy that I'm traveling.
In today's current situation, Zambia Deaf Football head coach Patrick Kasoka is saddened to hear that they will not be participating in the tournament due to inadequate resources. Camnet Sport caught up with him and he gave out the following concerns.
Of His Excellency, the President. That was on Thursday. And this attempt for the deaf players and the board members led by the President of the Zambia Deaf Sports Federation, upon hearing that they were going to go to State House, National Sports Council intervened and asked them not to, and that they were coming to address them. Unfortunately, the announcement that was brought to the players was that they only managed to raise 100,000 kwacha against the total budget that was needed to take this team to Kenya. It was received with a lot of mixed feelings, considering the fact that these are athletes that are born with hearing impairment.
He has added that the news has negatively affected the high spirits of the players who were physically and mentally ready to participate in the competition.
And they felt marginalized, and they felt discriminated because they had a lot of references to make. That what would have happened if it was the national soccer team for the hearing players, and absolutely it had to take National Sports Council chairman and the entire board to make them understand. But I think the situation here is that it should not have taken National Sports Council up to the last day when the players were raising issues with a view to do a protest march to State House. However, it's an issue that we have taken with both hands, that the gesture of the 100,000 kwacha will now go towards other programs.
The deaf community's cry has been to always feel inclusive in matters affecting the nation. That includes sport. Blessings Shakwila, Camnet Sports, Lusaka.
Well, that item ends our news this evening. The headlines once again. President HH to dismiss underperforming ministers without hesitation. The Democratic Party backs the abolishment of religious affairs and gender ministries. Pressure mounts on the Chinese firm as workers demand better conditions of service. In international news, Guinea opposition warns against sanctions on junta. And in sports news, Deaf Football Association of Zambia to miss out on the forthcoming international tournaments. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, and it's coming from Zechariah 14 verse 9, and it reads, "On that day Yahweh will become king over all the earth, Yahweh alone and his name alone." Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. Good night.